What up?
What up?
Welcome back to the podcast. What up? Welcome back to the podcast. I feel like it's been a while.
Since we recorded, yes.
Since we recorded, and also since we've been in person with
Also
each other.
very true, yes.
But yeah, just checking in. It is everybody's favorite uncle, Uncle Don. I'm here with my brother Paul, a.k.a.
Mr. Qualified, per usual.
Also, Boat Party Keithley.
Boat Party Keithley is crazy. We are recording this live from Boat Party weekend. If you know, you know. If you don't,
Too bad.
That's too bad. But yeah, no, we had to get the in-person vibes again. They're very immaculate. They always turn out well. But yeah, man, it's June.
It is June. We are now halfway through the year. We got another half to go, and hopefully some good coming from it. We've had some good already, but sometimes it be sprinkled in with a good, bad, and ugly little indifferent. So
Life be lifing like that sometimes.
Yeah. How has your first half of the year been?
It has been one of the more trying times in recent memory for me.
Okay.
Because it's been such a back and forth of good, bad, ugly, indifferent, scared, fear, like so many different things. Like I've had a few, I wouldn't call them health scares. Like my dudes probably feel like they health scares because she thinks everything is
Mothers worry.
Mothers just be worried. We love that though. But no, I have had two things happen medically this year where it just kind of made me I don't know, it made me think. It kind of just put things into perspective for me in regards to just like paying more attention to my body, like being more intentional about like how I'm taking care of myself, like just things that I didn't necessarily pay attention to before. So that's been a part of it. But as we talked about in other episodes, figuring out like what this next season of my life looks like, I feel like the first half of this year has been kind of like it's been beating my man. And it's been.
You gotta fight back.
You gotta look, fight back.
Stand up.
Hey, like the round is over. Get some rest. Hydrate. But no, it's been trying because I feel like I be in between feeling stuck and being patient with what it just feels like my journey is.
Okay.
And I think the combination of just being in that kind of season of life, like, you know, things start happening medically, so you just start paying more attention to things. You get in a space where like, okay, I know I want to make this pivot. How do I do that? And, you know, you feel like, for me, feeling like all those things are going on at once has been overwhelming from the perspective of, you know, this got to mean something. I got to be being prepared for something. Don't know what, and kind of wish I knew because I kind of feel like I'm free falling is strong, but I do feel like I am experiencing I'm experiencing a lot of things, and trying to compartmentalize them has not worked out as well as it typically does for me. So first half has been a doozy, all things considered, but I would say there's been growth for sure.
Okay. Well, that's not bad. Like you are going to go through some shakeups.
Yeah.
Health scares, obviously, we had talked about that, so I'm glad that you were doing better, feeling better, or possibly on the path to be better. I think all of the above, right?
Yes, all the above.
But no, in that, like, sometimes you gotta shake the table, or life will shake the table for you before you get a little jolt before some good happens, you know?
Yeah.
Because now you done shook the table, the pieces have to fall somewhere.
Yeah.
And fingers crossed they fall in the right places and in better places.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's real. I think I also feel like what's made it difficult, or what's made it overwhelming, is that it also feels like a season of letting go, which I think I'm in my first true season of that being a necessity. It's something you think about. It's something that, you know, people always say, oh, you just let that go, or you got to let this go. But I think all things considered, it's a lot, you know, it's not just personal or like intimate with me, but also in things professionally, with friendships. Like the idea of letting go a lot of what you have become used to and what it feels like your life has been up to this point. I think for me, I'm starting to think of the other side, and I'm kind of like, dang, like it's a lot that's not going to make it to this other season of my life. And when I start, if I'm gonna break my life up in quarters or halves, like, however long I have, it's like whatever this back end, is going to look so different. And that could be a great thing. Yeah. But I think I'm just in the space of mourning what is not making the jump over to that other side of life for me. And it's kind of unsettling, but I mean, it's one of those necessary things. So I think I've accepted that, but just the processing aspect of it.
On the other side of that, though, you are going to like massively exhale, and it's going to be so good. I don't know when that time is going to happen. It's not going to be tomorrow, so don't hold your breath. If you didn't pass out, breathe, straight, shake, let it go. But when you get to the other side and like you can actually see the growth and see the change and see all of those things, like you'll exhale in a way that just feels free.
Yeah.
I ain't saying that you feel trapped right now, but like I don't. This has not been my 6 months into this year, but I have experienced that a couple years ago, almost exactly what you were describing: health, friendships, all of that stuff. And now it was like, oh, now you look so good. I'm like, oh, thank you, but it's because I've exhaled. It's because I've let it go. Call me Elsa. Like I had to let it go. Like because everything is not meant to be carried forward with you. It sucks, but it's true. Y'all know I'm not lying. But everything is not meant to carry forward with you. So there are certain things that you have to let go. And I'm saying this from a place of like, I let it go already, so it's easier said than done. Because it's hard as hell to do. Like you said, you were in your mourning stage. I was very much going through a divorce. Like I was divorcing myself of everything around me. And it was just like, I need an adult. Like, who's supposed to help?
No, truly. I think the exhale thing is huge, but I'm curious, did you have a process to that madness, or looking back, do you notice a process that you had in regards to how do I get to a place where I can exhale when it comes to these things that I need to release or let go of?
I had a process. It wasn't healthy.
Ooh, talk about it.
I now can see. I didn't know that I had a process at the time, but I was just like, I was going here hitting the wall. I was going there hitting the wall. I was going here hitting the wall, and I was like, well, damn, how do you get out this maze? Like, so I thought I'd had a process, but it wasn't getting me anywhere. Yeah. And to the point where I said it wasn't healthy. Like, you cry a lot, right? So sometimes you cry. Somebody said that. Like, you just kind of got to let that release happen. But it was happening to the point where I wasn't controlling the tears. Like, I'm just sitting here chilling. We could be talking, and then I look away and be like, like, what's going on,
No, I really feel like I be having them moments. And I don't, like, it feels like a thing that happens around this age. But sometimes it just really be like, bro, what is happening right now? Like, what's in the air? Like, what's in the atmosphere? It's a lot that I'm experiencing that it's, I think knowing that something is necessary, and knowing that something has to happen, I think there's a growth that comes with being able to actually accept things happening or not happening, for that matter. And I think that with that acceptance, though, is a lot of it's a lot of looking internally, and within that process, I think for me, that's where it's kind of been unhealthy, because I think that, at least how I feel like I operate, maybe I'm logical to a fault, like to the sense where it's like, as we talked about before, but like I feel like things have to make sense for me to be able to process, move forward, and be at peace with that progress and feel like I'm moving in a direction that makes sense. Like, things need to make sense to me. It doesn't mean it has to be what I want or the way that I want, but like, I got to know how we got here. So for me, it's like, so I don't make those missteps again, or I can at least feel like I'm aware of shortcomings, aware of things that maybe were good, but I want to continue to get better at. Like, I want to know that. But I think the tough part is, especially if you're talking about in relationships that could be intimate or friendships, that other person, like, it is really a 50-50 thing. And I know for me with friendships and in, relationships, I've always tried to carry that, I've always tried to carry 100%. And I've always thought that, like, not like, not that I deserve a cookie or nothing like that, you know what I'm saying? But I thought it was something that would be, appreciated, and respected. But I think one of the hardest lessons has been, and a huge aspect of letting go, is understanding that a lot of that ain't really on me. And I can't allow myself to be dependent on that to make progress. So changing your process or adapting your process to new revelations of how you feel, new revelations of what emotions start to mean to you. I think I'm also like in that part of this season as well. So it's been interesting to navigate that.
And infusing logic into what you say, like you as a logical person as well. Like things have to make sense to me. If I don't agree with it, that's fine. Even if I don't understand it for me, I need to see how it made sense to you. For me to understand now where the emotion part comes in, right? So if I need to see like your brain path of thoughts and things, so I know how to move around you or with you or whatever that is. But emotions and logic don't always go together. So as you
rarely do they.
They don't. Like it is a delicate balance between the two. It is a super thin line because you can either be a very logical person or a very emotional person, but it's usually these extremes. Yeah. So when you can strike that emotional intelligence, that balance where you got both of them, then you can start to let things go and it not feel like that mourning stage and it not feel like you in a divorce. Because to my unhealthy habits, I pushed a lot of people away. Like directly and indirectly. I mean, I didn't say get away from me, but like I started to disappear. Like it was very much given America's Next Top Model where they just started popping up. Like phases of me were just gone. But because of that, even though I don't think it was healthy to push everybody away and to kind of hibernate the way that I did, it allowed me to only have enough to focus on that I could control, and that was just me. So like I started to rebuild, and even my therapist had asked me, she was just like, who are your true friends? And I was like, first of all, what does that mean? I'm like, I have best friends, I got good friends. She was like, no, we just talk about true friends. And she gave me the definition of, I think the people that you can talk to all the time, or if you need something, you go to them, I forgot her actual definition, but it was that unconditional connection between people. And I had identified 5 people. And that was very hard to do because, I mean, you know me, I'm a social butterfly. So I got everybody in my circle, but I only started talking to those 5 people. And my sister and my mother, of course, but like outside of that, I was just like, I just needed something to rebuild this house on because Olympus has fallen. Like,
I don't know why that analogy hit, but like the idea that like, no, like this house is crumbling, like internally, like this is not, ain't nothing benefiting nobody over here the way things are moving. Like, you hear me? But I guess what was talk about that rebuilding process, because I guess as I anticipate and I look forward to that, like especially with that analogy in mind, it's kind of weird because I'm like, how do you know you've really started rebuilding it? Like, and you're starting with how do you know that your foundation is solid? Because interestingly enough, I feel like I have had the tendency to isolate in the past. And I also feel like as of late, because of that tendency, I've been more intentional about not isolating, which I think has also left me exposed to kind of like overexposing myself. With the goal of not isolating, I'm kind of leaving myself out there in moments where I probably should, because I'm trying to break a pattern that feels like maybe let me not do that because it's not the healthiest thing to do. But just within that, rebuilding process, if there's a correlation with the isolation, definitely speak to it. But just in general, how do you feel like you came to understand what rebuilding that foundation looked like?
Me rebuilding my foundation was asking myself certain questions and realizing I didn't have the answers to them, and being okay with that. You like,
the air never. I'm like, oh, you are gutting me.
My bad. Like, I asked myself questions and I did not have the answers to them, and I said, that's okay. And it might be TMI, but it was one day I was sitting on the toilet and I was just like, why am I so sad? Like, I literally was like, what is going on? Like, why? Like, that was supposed to be my personal time. Like, I'll go in the bathroom just to hide out from people. Like that was the one place I could go where nobody would bother me. My friends, my family, students, work, whatever. So like the bathroom is a very sacred place to me. And I'm on my porcelain throne, just like, why am I so sad? Like I was losing it. And that was the question that I asked myself. Why am I so sad? And I said, I don't know. And I was like, okay, so that was a brick that I was going to use to build this. A little tear was another brick I was going to use to do that. Being around my true friends, my 5 people, the connections to them. I even wrote them text messages and was just like, not that my therapist told me to do that. She just said identify the people. But once I did that, I wanted to share that with them and was just like, you mean this to me because of this, and thank you. You don't even know what you're doing for me right now. Like that was another brick that I needed to help rebuild the house of Donald, right? So like I needed those things, but it takes some time, and sometimes isolation ain't bad. Like obviously don't completely cut yourself off, but you can still be connected to those people as you go through this transition of figuring out what the next 6 months of this year is going to look like, because right now you shake, rattle, and roll, and your pieces all over the place, and where are they going to land? You want them to land around things that are good or with people that will also carry that. And I mean, you got your brothers, your friends, your whoever is, in your circle. They can also help you rebuild that, because I don't think that the house of Qualls should be rebuilt alone. It will represent you, but I don't think it should be built alone.
So interesting you say that, because as you were wrapping that up, I was thinking that my first thought was, sometimes I don't know how I feel about inviting people into that rebuilding process. And it's because I've come to understand my stubborn ways more. I try to change them. I think part of it is naturally just how I see things. And not that it's a my way or the highway situation. I just feel like I have a certain outlook on life that shapes how I just view things in general. And I'm stubborn in the way of like, if you can't make something make sense to me, I'm not budging. Like, you not convince me, but like tell me why this makes sense and give me a reason to change or adapt. Because other than that, I know that this way makes sense to me, type of deal. But why can't it, or why shouldn't it be built alone?
The house?
Yes.
Well, because I don't think people should be islands. And I don't think that you would be in a neighborhood by yourself. Like, you will eventually have neighbors. You will have, I mean, I'm using this like neighborhood analogy, but like, you will protect you will upkeep yourself, all of those things. You invest in yourself, you're going to pay your own bills, you're going to do all of these things for you, but that still doesn't mean that happens without the connection to somebody else. It don't need to be everybody. And It doesn't need to be everybody that has been with the first 6 months of this year, right?
Yeah. So
the hard part is asking yourself the question of who is worthy of my time, who is giving to me that I'm also giving back. People talk about, I want to give you your flowers. Don't give me my flowers. I have my own flowers. I got a full garden. I want you to water them, right? Because I want to know that you can invest in me the same way that I think I'm doing. So I take the compliment, yes, but I have my own flowers. Like, water them. Those are the people that are going to help you rebuild that house, because it's something to Extreme Home Makeover, right? You see this neighborhood and they say, look what we did, right? It's this massive kind of community moment that you've redefined those people that can help you for the next 6 months, for the next phase, for whatever that is. And those are the people that stay forever. Some people, unfortunately, are seasonal.
Yeah, and I think I'm mad I lost it in the midst of what you said, but something you said hit another, not nerve in a positive way, but like it was something that just like really resonated, but it slipped my mind. But yes, in terms of, I really like the idea that like, you know, like people aren't supposed to be islands. Like there's a communal aspect to who you are, and then therefore what your life looks like and ultimately what it means. I also really like the idea that for whatever reason, I can't articulate the analogy off the top of my head, but the idea that, yeah, you could give somebody your flowers or you could just water the flowers that they've already grown themselves. Yeah. And I think that it means more to water flowers I already have because it is more investment than just giving me flowers, like in keeping with that analogy. So I don't know, I know something I struggle with is the idea that like what do you do when you feel like you can't stop watering somebody's flowers, even though that may not be your job or responsibility anymore? Mm-hmm. And how do you remove yourself from that garden? And how do you not convince yourself that giving them flowers is still necessary too? You know, in keeping up with the analogy and everything, that was the part that that resonated. But it is tough because, especially like you said, with people being seasonal as well, or with things being seasonal too, when you feel like you are in seasons, mm-hmm. it can start to get either real blurry or it just becomes really tough when you are in different seasons and you start experiencing seasonal people, and you start or you start realizing that people have become seasonal when they may have been, or you may have felt like they were going to be, you know, there for the long haul. So I agree with everything that you said, but I feel like those are just the things that stood out and the things that I feel like I've struggled the most with. I don't know if it's really accepting in that case, but I think just conceptualizing what that looks like and how I need to approach it for my process. But accepting is a part of that too. But I will say, I want to keep my spirit. I go through some really tough times, and tough times is in the sense of like I'm really hard on myself. I really want to figure a lot of things out, and I always want things to work out. But you know, I have my moments where it's just like that's not, you know, what that's gonna be like. And in all aspects of life. So a lot of times it feels like I've been getting hit with like a double whammy. Mm-hmm. But I've always been able to find a spirit in like getting back up. Like I've always had the spirit of I can get back up. Like, yeah, you know, I just tried 5, you know, different, you know, approaches or things, and it feels like all of them failed. Let's try it again. Let's try something else. So I do want to keep my spirit because I feel like that has been one thing that's allowed me to continue along the journey. And even if it feels like I'm in a certain path where I'm taking more bumps and bruises than there is, you know, easy terrain, just knowing that I have a spirit of keep going. I do want to keep that. So that would be the one thing I would keep.
I like that answer. Keep your spirit. Yeah. You actually, and that's a good thing to have, because the spirit is truly the foundation of how you build the house, how you rebuild yourself. So if you have that, if you feel like you have a character, spirit, or something you can go on and then plug everything else in, then yeah. But yeah, keep your spirit. Don't let that be shaken or broken.
Or stirred.
I hate you so much.
But it still applies.
It does.
It applies.
This is an episode of analogies.
Could be the title.
I was going to say title.
But yeah, I mean, with all that, I think what makes sense as the final question is for you. I know we didn't talk too much about what your 6 months has looked like in particular. Mm-hmm. You just mentioned that it wasn't, you know, my 6 months, like that wasn't the season you were in. But you've mentioned it like in other episodes before that this year and this season for you is you're very content with things right now. Like not, you know, like you're good.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm
so
not in a like complacent way.
Yeah.
Things are good.
Yeah. What do you have feelings, or what are you thinking about in regards to the next 6 months, or what are you going to do to stay within the space you've been so far this year?
You know, that is the $1 million question because I would hope that my next 6 months mirror my front 6. But you know, not all things are good always. So I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop, and that still scares the hell out of me. But I just have to assume that there are no shoes to drop. You know, like I do think the next 6 months are gonna still be very fruitful for myself. I think fruitful in my relationships. I think I'm present in a way that I've not been probably ever, but in a very long time. So because of that, I think that my next 6 months are going to allow me to like grow and develop in some good ways. Also, I'm not looking for nothing in the next 6 months. So I'm waking up to a surprise every day. Like, and I think it's good surprises. So, yeah, I kind of want to see where that goes. I'm really riding the wave right now.
I feel that. I aspire to be that level of present. It's kind of like I can see it, like it's a light at the end of the tunnel kind of deal. But like I know there's a lot more, that has to be released before I feel like I can genuinely be present in that way.
Yeah.
And I think I would consider myself to be a relatively intentional person. Like there's not much that I do without, intention, but you kind of alluded to it. I feel like the one thing I almost don't have intention with is myself. Out of all things,
give yourself more.
Out of all things that I do with intention, I do not care for myself with intention all the time. I do not treat myself like with intention. And I think the next 6 months, as I mentioned before, it's a necessity. Like if I don't want to see the end of the next 6 months. Like that is the level of call it a healthy fear if you want to use the word fear. But it's I am aware, maybe not the present thing, but I am aware of where this could go if I don't get a hold of how to be better to me and give myself more.
Are you aware of where this could go if things are well?
That's a great counter question. And I don't like hearing it. It's like, yes, that makes a lot of sense. But like, I don't naturally think optimistically in that way. Again, when it comes to me. So to answer the question, no, but I want to put more energy into that and into the process of getting that ball rolling than where things have been. So call it a goal, a challenge. I want to be better to me. I want to give myself more. I want to learn how to do that and I also want to learn how to do that not by, I don't want to struggle with the idea that it feels like it's by force. I don't want to have the perspective that like, oh, this situation is making me do this or this person is making me do this. I want to have that relationship with myself. I want to have that desire with myself to say, just treat yourself better. Like this is not about anybody else. This is not about anything else. This is literally about you treating you better, getting more in tune with me. So yes, shout out to the positive outlook.
Give yourself more time, give yourself more love, give yourself more grace, give yourself more challenge. Not challenges that you bring on, but like
challenge.
Like challenge yourself. Because that's how you're going to be more intentional. And in due time, all of this happened and you would sit in this seat and be telling somebody the same thing. Because it is a hard time. It's a hard lesson to learn all of that stuff. And I'm not going to say it was easy. I got out the mud, quite honestly. It was
like us today.
It was my life for 2022 was like quicksand. And I'm just like, I keep sinking down. But I never had asked myself, what happens when I'm not in quicksand? I was just like, oh, damn, sand, and it was just, I wasn't moving anywhere. But what happens when I get out? This happens. Now, sometimes I feel like a balloon just kind of floating, just kind of like, oh, what's going on here now? But it feels good because it kind of rise above. But I'm here on this side. Now I don't even think about the quicksand. I never would have thought about this. Getting ready to travel, getting ready to enjoy life, kicking it with people I love, dating again. But like all of those things, I didn't imagine that in quicksand because it was just an anchor weighing me down. So ask yourself the opposite of the questions that you would typically, to be like, oh, I don't know what the next 6 months looks like in this situation. I don't want to see the end of that.
Yeah.
We'll see the beginning of something else then. Like it's something you just have to train yourself for. But I'm good now. I'm good for the moment. I'm good now. To answer your previous question, I think I'm gonna be good for the next 6 months. And whoever I can help bring along that ride to help me when my 6 months fall off inevitably sometime in the future, then those are the people you keep around you for the lifetime.
Yeah. Damn. Gems all around. Well, great conversation, great insight, life lessons, life gems. Boat Party Keith Lee gives this episode 11 out of 10.
Shout out to the storm.
If you know, you know. We hear by the grace of God today. And we'll see y'all next week. Peace.